Hey everybody, I'm Jack McTavish. I am the author of Royal Diamonds, publication day 17 March 2026. I can't wait. I'm here on One Final Twist with Teresa Brock, and glad to be here.
So today on One Final Twist, we are with Jack McTavish, a former Army colonel, right?
Yeah.
Turned and I'm sure we're going to get into all the other things that you do. Turned thriller writer, using your first person real world experiences to bring stories to us readers. The upcoming novel Royal Diamonds is March, and I am looking forward to finding out how you come up with your stories, how you come up with your characters and the plots, and how you do all of the things that you do. Tell us a little bit about Royal Diamonds before we get into too many questions.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks. So, I'm actually here. I'm doing this interview from the Grove Park Inn in Asheville, which is just a fantastic place. It's a little hard to find a spot that's quiet enough to actually do the interview, but love it. And it's snowing outside. That is not the setting for Royal Diamonds. Royal Diamonds is a Southern action adventure novel taking place in Charleston and down in the British Virgin Islands. Um, it's a treasure hunt. Might be a couple of different kinds of treasure in it. There's piracy. There's espionage. My main character, Jake Steed, comes from a amazing Charleston family, but maybe not the Charleston family that Trisha Oswald on Southern Charm comes from. Yeah, I'm excited to bring it to you, and there's some really good characters in the book, and it's definitely a very character driven novel.
It definitely is. So what was the very first spark or the little nugget for Royal Diamonds or Diamond? There's not two S. There's not an S,
Royal
right?
Diamonds. Yeah,
Royal Diamonds. Okay.
Yeah. So it's interesting. I started writing about 5 or 6 years ago, and wrote my first book was a romance, kind of Nicholas Sparks-ish trash that'll never see the light of day. And then I was like, you know what? I've always loved espionage fiction, and I'd kind of worked in the intelligence community for a while, very much on the periphery. Um, and I was like, well, I can just write a spy novel. I love spy novels. I'll write a spy novel. And it's funny because I remember watching an interview between Jack Carr and Brad Taylor, two of my, favorite authors. And I remember them talking, and this is very early on, I think, in Jack's career. Jack was like, well, I'm a Navy SEAL. I can write a spy novel. And I was like, well, I'm an Army colonel. I practice medicine for a living. I can write a spy novel. It can't be that hard. So I wrote actually 2.5 novels, and I was working with an editor, and it's fantastic. And he said, he goes, you really ought to try action adventure. And I was like, oh my God, what are you talking about? Action adventure? Like, not my genre. That's not what I've ever even thought about writing. I've lived some adventures, but writing it, man, what do you mean? Then I thought about it, and I just started scribbling notes out on an arc. And the next thing I knew, I sort of had a who, what, where, when, why, and through 3 different acts, and bam, Royal Diamonds, and I started working on it.
So I love your characters, and it's really cool the way that the characters unfold in the book. Because you learn more about them as the book goes. It isn't like we got like this history in the beginning of the book. You get a little bit of the familial history for each character as they come forward. How did you come up with that part of it? Like for me, I would have to like make a list, and this is your dad, and this is your
Yeah.
family tree.
Well, like I love good family stories, and every one of my characters sort of has either a little bit of me in it, or a little bit of somebody that I know, or somebody that I'm very close to. Bank Steed in the book is very much like my dad. I like when I'm writing a character that's like an older guy that's probably in his 70s, or my dad's 84 now. That's sort of the prototype that I work off of. Or other strong older people that I know. I love family, and so I like the family relationship aspect of it. So I kind of draw from that experience, and build things together. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah, it does. That was kind of one of the next questions is are your characters, especially since I haven't read anything else, but these they just feel so familiar, like they're people that you know. Like I love that Jake, he's he comes from money, he's got all this experience, but he'll still just kick back with a PBR and flip-flops.
Exactly. Yeah. So I would, if you're going to hang out with me, I would probably, once all this ridiculous snow that's outside goes away, come April 1st, I will transition from jeans and boots back to flip flops and shorts. Yeah, I very much live that sort of lifestyle. I don't come from money at all. But but man, I sure don't mind writing about it, and it doesn't scare me. It was funny. I was doing some reading the other day, and I was doing some analysis of my work, and one of the comments that I got was, you write about money like you understand money, but you're not afraid of, you're not afraid of it. And I kind of like that. I kind of like that approach. So, um, gosh, what else? I mean, if you talk about like writer influences, have you ever read any Webb Griffin?
Yes,
So
yes.
love Webb Griffin. Matter of fact, probably the reason why I write today is because I picked up a Webb Griffin novel 30 plus years ago. And, I love his style of the relationship part between the characters. And I tried to I didn't try to copy it, but I tried to bring out a similar sort of style of relationships between my characters.
Now that you've left that political, or I get, yeah, it's kind of like a political thriller, spy, espionage part back here, and you're into this action adventure. Do you find, first of all, I mean, from a reader's perspective, I think that action adventure is way more character driven than spy espionage. Are you more comfortable where you're at now?
Yeah, I think it's my sweet spot. I mean, yeah, I spent 36 years in the Army and Army Reserve, and and then did some other stuff after that. And during that, the spy stuff is just so serious. Like, oh my gosh, we've got 24 hours to go until this atomic bomb blows up. We better find out how. And all the details have to be right. With action adventure, I don't know. I can just dial it up a little bit and have fun with it. And I think readers need that. I mean, it's a pretty serious world out there today, and honestly, I don't want any part of that. I don't mind I like politics. I mean, I like listening to it and understanding it, and I love government. I love leadership. But man, I just want to bring something fun for the readers.
Um, so with the military experience, I know like when I read or when I've been to different reader events and listening to authors talk, like Brad Thor, Jack Carr, Brad Taylor, these guys, they have to turn their books in to have them read to make sure like no military secrets are divulged. With your military background, do you have to turn that stuff in too, or does it?
I've asked that question, whether I need to. So the short answer is no. My book is not about the military. I've got a character in there that was a Marine. I've got a character that works for MI5. I never worked for MI5, so I have to do it. Is there a mention of the CIA in there? Yes. Do I have to turn it into the CIA's publication office? No, I don't.
I wondered if it was how that for you, particular having your military, but I wondered how that
Yeah,
worked.
no, I don't think so, and don't plan on it.
Was there a moment in the, or maybe I don't know if it's a
One
moment
of my
in
earlier
the
books,
adventure scene?
probably, but
Yeah, yeah,
these books, no.
yeah, yeah. Do you, it when during Rule of Diamonds, what was the hardest, without giving a spoiler? I know. What
Yeah.
was the hardest part for you to write?
Dang, that's a good question. The part of the hardest thing for me with writing is continuity of just continuing to, because I still have a day job. I'm not retired yet. Hopefully, I will be in a few years, and then I can focus on writing full time. But it's the hardest part is picking the story back up where I left it off. I mean, I may get a few days stretch where as I'm working through a draft, and I'll bang out, 3 or 4 chapters. And I'm very disciplined too with kind of the way I write my chapters. But as far as the hardest part or the hardest scenes, um, writing about Charleston was the easiest because I love Charleston, and give a plug for Brad Taylor. He's got like his 20 gazillionth book launch coming up in April, and I can't wait to be down there. And we probably are going to move to Charleston when I retire. And yeah, love it. So it's very easy to write about. And but the hardest thing was probably writing some of the scenes about Tortola. I've not been there.
Yeah, yeah.
So, I mean, I've been throughout the Caribbean. I've just not been to those islands.
So this is kind of a maybe a little bit of a more personal question. So I know so like there's the compass and there's the latitude and longitudinal information with each chapter and all of that. So is there a special compass or something like that in your life that comes from?
Yeah, I don't have a special compass, but I've always loved a good compass. And it's funny because I did an Instagram post last night about a Silver Ranger compass, which is a type of compass I learned to use in the military early on. I like the symbology of a guiding principle, of a sort of a guiding set of values, a guiding direction in life. And to me, a compass symbolizes that, but a compass also symbolizes adventure. And you know, I know that if I have just a few things, if I have something that I can make a fire with, if I have a knife, if I have a compass, I can probably make my way back from something kind of bad if I
Yeah.
needed. Right? Like I probably could have. I don't know if I'd be the best guy to be on Survivor, but I could probably live for a day or two and be okay. Um, so yeah, it was kind of cool having the compass in the book. There's other
Is your family too, where, I mean, you're mentioning Charleston and a lot of this book takes place on the water. Is that something, and so Army is clearly not always on the water, but I mean,
yeah.
is that like part of your family history?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, my dad's a boat captain.
Oh, that's cool.
He has his captain's license. My dad, my youngest brother, my youngest nephew, all Marines. My brother, myself, my middle brother, myself, both paratroopers. And I've got another nephew that's getting ready to go in the Navy. We grew up on Eastern Shore, Maryland. Water was probably never farther than about 100 yards from anywhere where we were, and yeah, no, love it. Being on the coast, being near the water. That's where I need to be.
And so I know, so you have two big boat names, right? Escape was one. Escape
Yeah,
is one boat, and the other one, now I've done forgot the
it's the
other.
rebellion.
The
Yeah.
Rebellion, yeah. So did you purposely pick the names of the boats to
Oh
go
yeah.
with the attitudes on the boats?
Absolutely. Yeah. So the the rebellion is Jake's sailboat, and man, I don't. I'd love to give like a little spoiler, but I'm not going to do it. But Harper has something to do with the rebellion as well, and you'll probably figure that out in about the first chapter. Um, but yeah, I love the Revolutionary War history, and there's a little twinge of that in the book.
Mhm.
Especially the early Marine Corps history, and yeah, so the rebellion was a good name. I don't say that I'm not really a rule breaker. I don't mind kind of going up to the line and getting chalk on my shoes, but I don't really want to operate in a gray zone. But I'm also not very black and white about some things. So
Yeah.
rebellion is probably a good thing. And then the escape, you know, that book or that boat's name. Well, so you figure where did the escape come from, or which character? So that goes with Mike Diaz, who's Jake Steed's best friend. They were bunkmates at Paris Island together. He kind of escapes to the Caribbean after his service in the Marine Corps, and it's a beautiful dog. The guy's just walking here with a nice dog in front of me. But he kind of escapes to the Caribbean, and I just think, man, it's a pretty darn good looking boat name. So I don't know. Maybe here in a couple of years, I'll have a nice little center console to spend time chasing redfish in.
Yeah,
Either
yeah.
name the escape or the rebellion. So
That's funny. So, and I will say this, my favorite part of the book, hands down, which was the inner dialogue that came out of every character. And it made that was different. And I feel like it was very ballsy to do it like that.
okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Because usually you have like one main character and you get their inner dialogue, or you don't get any at all.
Yeah.
But we got each one of them, you got their inner thoughts, and I loved it. So, what was the inspiration kind of behind that? Did you have a plan? Did you know going into that you were going to do it like that?
Yeah. So I've got a doctorate in emergency management and global health. I do not have a master's of fine arts. Um, if Miss Brown, who was my high school English teacher, could see me now, she would probably flip. Um, yeah, I didn't really have a plan. I also didn't know the rules for writing, but I've kind of picked them up along the way. I've considered writing like another graduate education. No, I didn't really have a plan for that. And it's funny because I really like how Brad Taylor writes. And it's funny, I remember listening to him on an interview, which was part of my education one time, about him having no idea when he wrote his first couple of books that he shouldn't be writing them in the first person. I was like, oh gosh, okay, well, it's crazy. So no, I didn't really have a plan, but I like when I'm writing a scene for it to be very cinematic. I always imagine when I'm writing that I'm writing uh, for a either for a cinema audience or a movie audience or like a streaming sort of thing, so that people can see kind of what I'm seeing and hear what I'm seeing. And then again, I love relationships, so that's why I have. That's probably why my dialogue works
Oh
is
yeah, yeah.
because I like the relationships and the interplay between people.
Is Harper based on your wife?
Harper is not based on my wife, but if I see a blonde-haired, blue-eyed cutie that's sitting not far from me, well, Harper's kind of blonde-haired, blue-eyed cutie too. So, um, no, not exactly, but yeah.
Did she read your dialogue and tell you, like, did she help you with that? Because like it's one thing that I pick out too, especially when I read action adventure or really any man that's writing a female character, you pick up on it like, oh, a woman would never say that. So does she go through and read and say, nope, nope, nope?
She has not gone through and done that. I do have somebody else that helped me with some editing, and she never said anything like that. It's actually interesting because the guy that's recording the audiobook right now sent me a message earlier today. He's like, Harper and Abby are hot. And I'm like, okay, well, I guess I checked that block. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I think I just got lucky doing it that way.
That's funny. I would have guessed for sure you had somebody telling you, nope, Harper wouldn't say that. Nope, Harper would wear this. Harper
I
would.
do, I do have two daughters, so I'm
Oh,
pretty familiar with how girls talk. I guess maybe as much as a man can be.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's so funny. Have you ever had to tone something down in your writing that ended up being more fact than fiction? Like as you went into it.
Oh, you mean like from like a military
Yeah.
standpoint or something like that? Yeah. Oh, yeah. I definitely have. Especially in the first like two espionage books. There's a medical aspect to special operations that I'm familiar with, and um, early on, there was a scene I think in the first book that I wrote that talks about a hostage rescue, and I was talking about some tactics, techniques, and procedures, and I was like, "Yeah, this is probably a little close to the edge about what I should be saying." So I toned it way down, and as it turns out, I find that as I write, I over explain a lot of things in my initial draft. I'm sure a lot of writers do that. And then when I go back through the editorial process and I'm compressing, like, well, I don't need that. I don't need that. Trust the reader. When I first started writing, a guy I was working with was like, dude, you got to trust the reader. And I'm like, well, what does that really mean? I don't know. But I've kind of figured it out after a while, and I think it's working. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's some things like I will never I may write about Fort Bragg, North Carolina, and like what it's like to be a Green Ramp. But every time I do research for anything, I always make sure I only do. I would never ever do any sort of classified. I don't even think my security clearance is open and is active anymore. It's probably not because I'm retired. But um, I always make sure that as I'm doing open source research, that everything is only open source. Like it's pretty, like if I pull out the name of a location or a unit or an operation or something like that, it's basically a Google search away from finding it. The problem becomes when you start stringing open source things together that then can make something become into the classified realm. But again, Royal Diamonds is pure fun. I don't write about a bunch of stuff like that in this book.
No, Royal of Diamonds definitely is like an escape. It is. It's a story. It really is like, and off we go. And I didn't realize. So when as for my reading adventure, I started out loving like popcorn thrillers. I
Hmm.
loved revenge. I loved, like somebody's got to die. Maybe a lot of people got to die at the end.
Yeah.
And I'm finding myself going more to crime fiction, noir, action, adventure.
Yeah.
And I'm getting way away from where I started. And action adventure is really fun. I mean, it really like you're getting a little bit of history. You're getting
Yeah.
enough history that it's based like that you can believe it.
It's believable. Yeah. It's absolutely believable. Yeah, yeah, I like that. I mean, I'm a huge history nerd. It's crazy. For a while, I didn't read a lot of fiction. I mean, I would read like whatever Webb Griffin book came out, but for probably about a 10-year period as a army officer, I was just, especially like during kind of the height of the GWAT, I was just reading leadership, operational stuff, leadership, how to be a better leader, how to be a better soldier. Those kind of books. And hardly any sort of fiction. So this book for sure is for fun. The one that I'm working on now is also very very much for fun, and it's going to be a great book. Can't wait.
So from start to finish, how long does it take or did Royal Diamonds take?
Probably about a year. Probably about a year.
Oh, that's fast. Yeah.
Yeah, about a year. And it's gone over a year now. I think I started actually in January 2025, and then maybe January 2024, but I've been working on another book now for the last actually, yeah, it was most of it was written within the course of about a year, written and edited the first time within the course of about a year. And then, I took it out to, I've been going to Thriller Fest for several years. I love it. It's great. I've had a chance to meet some amazing authors out there. It's a welcoming community. So, I actually submitted it for agents to take a look at, and they're like, "Oh, this is not the kind of book we're looking for." And I'm like, after getting kicked in the face about 60 times, I was like, oh, maybe I'll just do this one on my own. And I have people tell me, no, don't, keep doing it, write another one. I'm like, I don't really want. No, I believe in this story. Let me get it out there. So, let me get it out there. But yeah, it probably took about a year to write. The one that
Well,
I'm working on now is, I mean, I banged that out in about 7 months, and I've had a blast doing it.
well, tell me about the new one then. Now, let's hear about
Well, so the next one is, I'll just say briefly. It's called Tales from the Caribbean, and it follows a Jake McAdams, who is my protagonist, and Jake retires from the CIA. Immediately gets kicked in the gut um, as his soon to be third ex wife throws a spear at him from one of his Africa trips, and he ends up on this Southern Odyssey, Caribbean Odyssey as well, and he ends up having a great time. He ends up opening a bar in the Caribbean on another island, and not that I don't have a friend that did the same thing after Vietnam, but he ends up opening a bar, and there's just adventure after silly adventure. It's very episodic. It's probably a little more pulpy, maybe a little noir, and maybe a little pulpy kind of fiction. And there's there's some bad guys, but they're not like the worst horrible bad guys. Really, the bad guys probably more some institutions that he's getting away from. So I'm not going to say much else about it. It's fun. It's going to be a great book. I can't wait. Like
Well,
I'm,
you said pulpy and noir, so that means I have to read that.
yeah, I think you're gonna. I think you're gonna like it.
Okay, so back to Royal Diamonds. Which character gave you the most fits to write?
Which one gave me the most fits to write? Gosh, let me see. There's different things that are hard about different ones. Like, I never wanted Abby Mountbatten. I wanted her to be, truly royal. So she and Harper were a little hard for me to write. Just, again, because they're women, and I wanted to be respectful, but at the same time, like they're sort of fun, characters. Mike Diaz was fun to write. Mike Diaz reminds me. It's funny because I had a friend of mine at USASOC, the Army Special Operations Command, named Mike, that we were in a unit together. And there's another friend in that same unit whose last name was Diaz. So that's kind of how that name came about. But he kind of reminds me of my friend Mike a little bit, and kind of the ways Mike was able to get some things done. Um, yeah, so that was a little interesting to write. The bad guy was kind of hard to write sometimes. Sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a little scary. Like you're writing this bad guy scene and you're like, oh man, dude, where did that come from? This guy's really bad. I'm glad you're not like that.
It's funny. Does your wife ever worry about your Google history search?
No, absolutely not.
I figured that somebody's probably
And,
watching my Google history search right now. So,
and actually not married, but do have a very special
oh,
significant other. But
yeah,
it's a
yeah,
sweet, sweet girl, clever.
yeah. Um, so there's not going to be a rule like a follow up to Royal Diamonds. I really feel like there could be more. I feel like they could go on
Yeah,
another adventure.
I think there's more. I think there's more. I've got to get. I've had so much fun writing Tales from the Caribbean that I can't wait to get that out next. And that's done. It's just going through edits right now. And man, I've got an arc. Actually, one of the things I'm doing this weekend is getting ready to start banging out the arc for the follow on for that. Um, and that's going to be fun. Buckle up.
Well, I'm glad that you have found your sweet spot, like that you know where, especially when you started like with the romance and then the spy, and now here you are. Like I think you're really where you want to be in this writing adventure.
Yeah, there's always going to be, in my books, there's always going to be a little espionage. There's always going, my time working around that community. I love it. I treasure it. Um, I believe in the mission. And I love the people. So I love having a chance to honor them with, just little tidbits thrown into the story. I'm a huge James Bond fan, man. They actually, when my daughter was reading Royal Diamonds, she was like, "I love Sir John, and I want more." She's like, "I want a Sir John spinoff." Um, so I don't know. Maybe there'll be some more Sir John in the future, and you'll just have to read the book. Everybody else who's watching us have to read the book to figure that out. But yeah, so there'll always be a little of that. There'll always be a little bit of the military in it, but it's not going to be the overarching thing. What I
So
really Go ahead.
go, no, go ahead, go.
Well, I was going to say what I really like, kind of can't wait to explore is in the follow-up book to Tales from the Caribbean. There's going to be a mafia connection,
Oh,
and man, I can't wait. Maybe a little mafia Hollywood connection.
yeah. Have you thought about bringing the two together? Like maybe Jay could roll in there.
Yeah, there may be some cameos in the future.
Yeah,
As a matter of fact,
readers love those.
there's already a cameo in Royal Diamonds from one of my previous books.
Oh, well,
Yep.
so okay, then let me ask this question of all of the books that you've written so far, which one do you are you the most proud of?
Oh, man, that's a tough question. Like you're always proud of your first book, even if it's trash and nobody's ever will see. Like, man, I wrote a novel, fantastic, 60,000 words. This is great. Um, Even if it'll never see the light of the day. I think thus far, I'm probably the most proud of the one that's going to come out after Royal Diamonds, Tales of the Caribbean. I think Royal Diamond was like it was like I graduated from graduate school and like got my first kind of gig out there. Um, Tales from the Caribbean kind of takes it up a notch, and I think that as I get better at writing, like every book, I'm just a little bit better. But I learn a little bit more about the craft, or I get better at doing like even just the mechanical things. And you're gonna laugh at me, but like speaking tags, M dashes, how to properly use those. I mean, I'm just like, oh, man, this is a struggle. But you get there and you get around it and you learn it, and it's not as easy as Brad Taylor and Jack Carr make it look, right?
Just writing reviews for me is tough. I have to, I will, after I finish, I have my notes and I have like just for this interview, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pages of notes
Oh
for this
wow.
interview. And then I will, so it's not never that much for my reviews, but I'll have a couple pages. Then I put it in and I let it sit, and I'm gonna marinate on that for a day and think
Yeah.
about what I want to say. It takes me forever just to do it in like what 3 paragraphs. It takes me that long. So
Wow. Yeah, it's definitely a progress or a
yeah.
process.
So Royal Diamonds, we talked about it's very cinematic. Who would you like to see play? Just do your four main characters, or just like Jake and Harper, or Harper and Abby, or who would you like to see play him on the big screen?
Okay, so I don't watch a ton of TV,
Yeah.
but I think I need a little help from the audience, probably. So, I mean, Harper. I mean, Sydney Sweeney could probably rock Harper Calhoun for sure.
Yeah,
Sydney
yeah.
Sweeney could rock Harper Calhoun. Probably. Gosh, I don't know, honey. What do you think? Who? Chris Pratt? Yeah, Chris Pratt could definitely do Jake Steed. I'll tell you, without a shadow of a doubt, a slightly hungover and cranky John Hamm is going to do Jake McAdams in Tales from the Caribbean. Absolutely, for sure. Like that's always a guy. I always think of that guy as like Thomas Magnum's like cranky younger nephew or something.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but man, I don't. Yeah, Chris Pratt could pull that off. Man, I don't
I
know.
would pick Glenn Powell, I think, for
Glenn,
Jake.
yeah, Glenn Powell could do that.
I feel like he's a little swankier, like
Yeah, yeah, Glenn Powell could do that. Yeah, Glenn Powell definitely could. What do you think about like Mike Diaz?
I don't know. I don't know. I'm like you, I'm not a big TV watcher, but I'm kind of leaning on what's the guy who played the he's in a TV show right now, and he was the I can see him. Let's see.
You literally asked me the hardest question.
I know, sorry. I don't know. I don't know who would play good Mike. I
Yeah.
don't
What
know.
What about Abby?
She would have to have a lot of attitude. Like I don't know if attitude is the right, but like, you know, an
Yeah,
air about her. Like
yeah. No worry about her. The fact that hey, I'm British, lady.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, Sir John would probably be easy. I mean, Sir John has one of the Bonds.
I'm trying to find the guy who I want to play Mike right now. I can't.
Yeah, Daniel Craig. Yeah, yeah. I mean, if Daniel Craig could probably pull off Sir John,
Oh yeah, that would be good.
absolutely. So
It's the guy on His and Hers,
I've never seen it. Sorry.
and it's on Netflix. It's based on a book too. John Bernthal. He
Okay.
was. Uh,
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah, he could do that.
I think he would do. I think he would be. I think he would be good. He played. I mean, he has been in a lot. He was in The Punisher.
Okay.
I think he would be good at that because he could be a little morally, like
Gray area.
yeah, he could float in the gray area for sure.
Yeah.
So what is next for you? So I know you got the book coming, and are you going to go to Thriller Fest
Probably not going to do Thriller Fest this year. I think we're looking at possibly doing VoucherCon in
in
Calgary.
Calgary?
Looking at doing that. Still kind of looking at some different book launch options for Royal Diamonds. Would love to actually be able to do the release down in Charleston. So I'm kind of looking at some options down for that. Yeah, so it's kind of the next thing, and then just keep on putting the intellectual property together and getting things out there, and then the other thing is I want to keep supporting other writers, and continue to build, the social media platform. I never had social media before I started writing, like 5 years ago. Like, and I've built my Jack McTavish Adventures Instagram account to like 6,700 followers or something like that now. Just continuing to build that, to build relationships with my fans, with readers. Whether you come to that site to look at book stuff. I'm a huge watch nerd. If you haven't figured that out yet, I mean, I love a good watch, and they're all over the books. So, I want to continue to build that. But then also, I always make it a point, whether I've read it or not, going to read it or not, met the person or not. When I see like a publication day announcement come across my feed, I always like immediately repost it, and I spice it up a little bit. And if there's not a link there, I put a link on it, and I just think that, writers should do that for other writers. And so, I want to continue to build that significantly this year.
Well, I appreciate you coming on here and talking to me.